What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Trebl's Champions League Winners and Losers, where we pick our winners and losers from this week's action. My name is Louie.
I'm Alan.
And before we get started with this week's episode, make sure you're leaving your winners and losers in the comments below so we can feature you in our next episode.
And so, guys, to start off this show, we are going to be picking our first loser. And this week, it was PSG. PSG, heavyweight contender. A lot of people are saying they have the star power to win the Champions League, are now, after 3 games, sitting in 3rd place in their group behind Liverpool and Napoli. This week, they didn't have enough firepower to get past Napoli. They tied 2-2. 2 goals that they got, honestly, off of an own goal and then a last-minute, late-ditch effort by Di Maria. A game that, in all honesty, they probably should not have won. Napoli played phenomenally. They closed them out, did really well, had just really bad luck in this game. And yeah, PSG not looking so hot in the Champions League so far. A team that is really built to just play in the Champions League. I think people expected that they were going to walk the French league. So this team should be doing a lot better than they are.
Well, and that's the funny part, right? Because they're going to win the French league from now until forever if they keep this team together. And so at the end of the day, what people should be judging them is not based on how well they do in France, because who cares about that? It's a matter of this team is built for the Champions League, or it's supposed to be built for the Champions League. But as we're seeing, it's not really like that. And quite frankly, I don't think Thomas Tuchel is the right guy to lead them. They probably should have gone after a guy with a proven track record to manage them versus, you know what I mean? If their goal is to win the Champions League, maybe hire a guy who has won the Champions League. Carlo Ancelotti was out of a job over the summer. Yeah. So, why not, potentially bring him in and, things of that nature. Whereas now you see Carlo Ancelotti bringing Napoli to France and getting a good, solid 2-2 draw and taking points away from PSG in PSG's home. And it's like, PSG should be winning these games. They should be top of their group. They should be doing much better, but I don't know what it is about them that they just seem like forward line, phenomenal. Defense, pretty good. It seems like their midfield is where they're struggling.
Yeah, it's crazy because you look at how much money they've spent, especially on that forward line, the likes of Neymar, Mbappe's, Cavani's. But that midfield is really letting them down. It's really kind of letting these goals go in, kind of not being that solid spine that you'd like in a strong Champions League team. Last episode we were talking about how Verratti was really needed for that PSG midfield to work. This game, he played, still wasn't the piece that they needed. So I'm not exactly sure what PSG needs to make that midfield really solidified there, but they're lacking something for sure.
And they got to figure it out, or else this is going to be another wasted season. And I say wasted season because they're probably going to win the French league, but not when you spend that much money on Mbappe and Neymar. You know what I mean? You got to do more than just win the French league.
For sure.
Moving on to our first winner of this week, we have Edin Dzeko. This man put in a masterclass performance for Roma. 2 goals and an assist to get Roma a comfortable 3-0 win. And man, this dude was everywhere for them. He was just on one. And it seems like Roma, when he's playing his best football, Roma, they seem unstoppable at sometimes. You know what I mean? I get it. It was a CSKA team, so not the heaviest of challengers for them. But when he's ticking, the whole team functions around him. And with this performance, he actually ties Lionel Messi as the current leading goal scorer for this year's Champions League. And this season alone, last match day, Edin Dzeko scored a hat-trick. This week, he is very close to scoring a hat-trick with 2 goals and an assist. And on top of it, with these 2 goals, it actually puts him at the top of the scoring charts for the calendar year in the Champions League.
Oh, wow.
He has 10 goals in the Champions League from January until now, and that's 2 more than anybody else in the competition.
Yeah, Edin Dzeko, man, is a guy who's been pretty underrated his entire career. Being a Manchester United fan and him playing for Manchester City, he was always a super dangerous forward, and it's nice to see him now at a team where he is the main man, and it's really shown. He's really been reaping the benefits from it.
Right. So my question to you is Edin Dzeko world class?
I'd still say no. I think that the world class term is kind of tossed around somewhat lightly, but he is very, 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 very good. And I do not say that lightly. He is very, 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 very good, Edin Dzeko, but he's not that world-class tier. He's probably the level 1 or 2 below that world-class tier, and the world-class tier I consider is the Neymars, Messis, Ronaldos, those big name types of players. Edin Dzeko, 1 or 2 levels below that, but he's a guy that you can really rely on to bag in the goals when you need him.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I don't know if he's in that world-class tier quite yet, but he's just about below it, right? So I mean, good for him. Dude's on fire in the Champions League so far. Let's see if they can keep it up and if Roma can keep doing well. I mean, side note though, did you see the escalator break down in Rome when they were when like all the people were going to the game?
Everyone was like,
talk about my worst nightmare is that. Like, that terrified me so much. I wasn't even there, but I just like imagine being there and all of a sudden the escalator gives out. I would shit my pants.
You know, I've never thought about escalators giving out. Like, they're so kind of mundane. You're just like, oh, this thing, nothing really bad can happen here. But watching that video and seeing all those people go down, I was like, wow, and people were like crashing on top of each other. It was dangerous, man. That was not nice.
Like, imagine just going to a game. You want to go watch a nice Champions League game and you're literally falling into an escalator. Like, that is my worst nightmare.
All of a sudden you're in the hospital and your neck's broken. You're paralyzed from the waist down.
Jeez.
Moving on, our next loser for this week, and this one's a big fat L, was Hugo Lloris. The guy got a red card after Tottenham were up 2-1. After he gets a red card, he sets his team up for failure. They actually get scored on a few minutes later, and Tottenham drop 2 crucial points that they needed. They have not been doing hot in the Champions League this season. We have bashed them enough on the show, so I'm not going to bash them, but I will bash Hugo. Came out studs up. He was trying to rip Chucky Lozano's leg right off. It was a crazy play. Definitely not needed, especially because there were 2 Tottenham defenders surrounding Lozano. The threat was pretty much neutralized, I think, in my books, and just a stupid play when Tottenham did not need that.
My question to you is, what the fuck is going on with him? He wins the World Cup in July and then proceeds to get a DUI. He was out, not really playing for a little while. I'm not really sure why. And then now this red card to basically screw over Tottenham in a sense. Of course, he didn't do it on purpose, I guess, but still, he's still screwing over his team here, and they are now suffering because of it. I don't understand what's going on with him, but he needs to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of people say this, and I don't know how I feel about it, but Hugo Lloris is the worst world-class goalkeeper in the world. Think about it.
It's the world's worst world-class.
It implies a couple of things. That he is world-class, and I don't know if he's in that world-class bracket, but I think I'd put him there. He'd probably be the last guy there. Again, he's the worst world-class goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah,
it's a pretty crazy statement, but I think it fits him perfectly.
I think that's probably the best description of Hugo Lloris. I think that's pretty good. I'll accept it. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
And not to harp too much on Tottenham, but they are sitting in 3rd place in the group, a death group really, a team with Barcelona, Inter, but they're sitting at 1 point after 3 matches. Really, people, I think, Tottenham fans and people around the world are really expecting them to have more than 1 point after 3 games.
Yeah. Can you say that they're done now? Like, can you kind of just put the nail in the coffin for them? Because, you know, at the start of the season, if you had told me who's going to advance out of this group, I would have said Barca first, Tottenham most likely second. But as we're seeing, Inter's been pretty good. They've been playing relatively well, and it's just like Tottenham just keeps shooting themselves in the foot. Like, it was an unnecessary tie. They should have won that game. And I don't know, man. It feels like Tottenham are going to crash out in the group stages.
Yeah, and just given the history of the last 3 games that they've played in the Champions League, losing that late-minute winner to Inter, losing this game in the last few minutes against PSV, it just seems like it's not written. It's not their fate this year to advance, which is unfortunate. I thought that they had a really good squad to compete in the Champions League, but I don't think this year's the year.
So yeah, I guess we'll have to see if they can pick it up and kind of where they go, but it's not looking great.
No. And Louis, let's talk about a big winner this week, Mohamed Salah. Liverpool smashed Red Star, but the biggest storyline here was Mohamed Salah getting 2 goals and scoring 50 goals in his career for Liverpool, the fastest ever for any player to ever play in a Liverpool jersey. And that's some big names there. Luis Suarez, Michael Owen, Kenny Dalglish. I mean, Liverpool has had their fair share of stars, but Mohamed Salah this year has just broken that record, fastest ever to do it. It's a pretty impressive achievement, especially for a guy who had an amazing season last year, but this year has been criticized a little bit for not being able to keep up that form. I think that was a little bit too critical, but over the last few weeks has been criticized for not being at the top of his game. He kind of shuts up the haters, proves people wrong, and he breaks a pretty impressive record.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, he hasn't really started the season all that hot, and I think it's super unfair to criticize him because it's like, you have this amazing season. You can't be expected to do that year in, year out. Like, he's human. He's not Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not Messi. And so it's like, I don't know if it's super fair to criticize him, but I'm happy for him that he's kind of back. He's scoring again. He's a fun player to watch as much as I hate Liverpool. He is a fun player to watch when he plays. And so happy that he got that back, and he's starting to get his confidence again.
And for sure, he's won over so many people over this last year, and I'm sure all of the true loyal Mohamed Salah fans are happy to see him do this. It is such an impressive feat. And yeah, it's good to see. Again, being a Manchester United fans, we obviously don't want to see him playing well, but he has been an exciting player to watch, and his career kind of trajectory over the last year has been cool. So thumbs up, Mohamed Salah. Thumbs down, Liverpool.
Keeping it within English teams, our next big, massive loser is Manchester United. As much as it pains me to say it once again on another week of this show, Manchester United are losers. They were completely outclassed by Juventus. They welcomed Juventus into their home stadium and lose 1-0, but it probably should have been a lot more. It seemed like Juventus were all over the pitch. I think Juventus had 70% possession, something along those lines, and that's crazy to me. A team like Manchester United, they should be able to compete a little bit more at home. I don't think the 1-0 scoreline, like I said, reflects necessarily how Manchester United played. I think it should have been a few more goals for Juventus, but man, it was just bad. Everything looked bad. And this loss just continues Manchester United's terrible run of form where they've had one win in the last however many games. It's just like something's wrong, and this was supposed to be like a marquee matchup for this week. It was two big European heavyweights, and it just didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like it was two of the biggest clubs in all of Europe playing each other. It felt like one of the biggest clubs in the entire world, and Juventus playing against another club. And that hurts, I think, the most being a Manchester United fan. But I don't know. Everything just seems wrong at Old Trafford right now, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and it definitely didn't help Mourinho coming out after the game kind of criticizing the board. It's been an ongoing issue with Manchester United, saying how, Juventus has ambition to get new players, and it's an issue that he's been bringing up of how Manchester United's board has not given him the money and resources to buy the players that he's wanted, even though we have spent a lot of money this season. Yeah, it hasn't been a good storyline so far for Manchester United at the start of the season. It's hard to see them really doing well in the Champions League, but an interesting fact, out of the matchups in Champions League history where Juventus and Manchester United play together, one of those two teams go on to the final of the Champions League, which is, I think, interesting. And I'm hoping that Manchester United will flip the story around, and this year it'll be them going to the finals and not Juventus.
If that happens, I would be the happiest person on this planet. So, I don't know. Maybe they can pull a miracle out of their asses here and manage to make it to the final. Who knows? But right now, not looking promising. Not really sure where it's going. Beats me. But keeping it within the same Champions League group, the other big losers of this week are Valencia. In a week where they had seen the result happen the day before where Juventus beat Manchester United, Valencia were playing Young Boys, and they should have pounded them. Young Boys isn't really they're not supposed to pose much of a threat, and Valencia have a relatively decent squad. They're not bad, and so Valencia missed a golden opportunity to go level with Manchester United on points for second place in this group and really make it interesting. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that, and they couldn't pull out a win, and they tied Young Boys, which it was a lost opportunity. They should have capitalized on it, and they didn't, and that stinks, and they are losers.
All right, Louis, and my final winner for this match week was Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund smashed Atletico Madrid 4-0. Atletico Madrid, a team that is known under Diego Simeone to be defensively intelligent, a team that's hard to crack. Borussia Dortmund walked past them, putting 4 in the net. A huge result for Dortmund, who now sits in first place in their group, but also Borussia Dortmund, a team that is flying in the German league as well. They're sitting in first place. I think people obviously expected Bayern to be there, but they're playing phenomenally. Sitting in first place there, sitting in first place in the Champions League group. Overall, an amazing performance for them. Axel Witsel playing amazingly. Rafael Guerreiro, who came in, made his debut, scored 2 goals. All over the place, everyone kind of put out a star-studded performance for Dortmund this game.
Man, it seems like every time I see news of Dortmund playing a game, they're winning 5-0, 7-2, these crazy scorelines, and it's like, what is going on? What are they drinking in the water over in Dortmund? Because it seems like everybody over there is just turned it up to 11 in terms of offensive firepower here. I mean, Paco Alcacer has been playing minimal minutes, but he's been scoring crazy. Jadon Sancho has the most assists. I don't know if he still does, but he had the most assists in Europe, and he's also playing phenomenally. And it's just it's amazing to see that there's finally someone other than Bayern in the German league to really be interesting. And even in the Champions League, the fact that they're beating a team in Atletico Madrid that won the Europa League last year and has been to 2 Champions League finals over the last 6-7 years, it's pretty great and a good look for Dortmund. Those young guys over there are just killing it.
Yeah, and what's nice about Dortmund is that they not only handle turning over players pretty well, but they handle turning over coaches, right? They year after year, it seems that they lose their new up and coming coach, a guy who brings changes to Dortmund. This year with Lucien Favre, he came in, he's instilled a style of play that they enjoy playing, a style of play that brings them a lot of goals, and he just has them clicking.
This coach, man, I don't know what it is that he's doing different that they weren't doing the last year or the year before, but they seem to, like I said, be firing on all cylinders. So good on them, and let's see if they can keep it up, both in the Champions League and in the German League. And the last and final winner for this week was everybody who watched the Hoffenheim and Lyon game. Originally, I was going to say Hoffenheim were the losers because they were sitting on just 2 points after 3 games. But we're going to play it like typical Americans, and everybody's a winner in this one. Participation trophies all around. But in all seriousness, it was a very fun game to watch. When you look at it, it had kind of everything that makes soccer so entertaining. It had, defensive errors, last minute dramas, good goals, good play, bad play. Like it had everything that made a game entertaining from start to finish. It might not have been the most beautiful game, but a 3-3 entertaining draw. Like I said, everybody wins. It was great. And yeah, I mean, it was just a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, it seems like almost all the matches that Lyon have been participating in so far in the Champions League, getting that win over Manchester City in the last match week, just exciting. They have an exciting group of players, but they're also susceptible in the back, so that it makes it so that other teams attacking them can really give up some goals. And it's just an interesting balance between what Lyon is right now, and it's just exciting to watch. And they're really a team looking forward for the remainder of the group stages to keep an eye out on, because they're always going to be putting out an interesting performance.
That is for sure. If you guys enjoyed this video, please show us some love. Come over here, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Write a comment. Let us know what you think about the show that we're doing. Comment your winners and losers, and let us know how well we're doing. We always try to get better at this, and we really enjoy doing it. So let us know how we can get better, interact.
That's about it. Make sure that you're subscribed so you can catch us in all of our episodes, all of our shows that we have, not only for Champions League, but the MLS action and soccer happening all over the world. So please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in our next episode. Peace.